Last year, Canada legalized recreational marijuana use, which has fueled growth in the industry. Morningstar equity analyst Kristoffer Inton spent some time analyzing the market and finds that Canadian cannabis sales will have a compounded annual growth rate of 20%, with most of the growth coming in from recreational use. He's here today to give us his findings. Chris, what have you found for Canadian cannabis, both on the medicinal and the recreational sides?
So I think the main findings are that the Canadian recreational market still has a lot of runway to grow. Legalization is just passed in the end of 2018, and expansion of the distribution has just, it's deliberately been careful and slow. And that over time, that I think that the governments are going to make sure that there is enough legal distribution to meet the market demand. And so I think that that's the first takeaway. I think secondly, the medical market we actually expect may shrink through 2030. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we expect many users that are currently in the medical cannabis market in Canada to shift into the recreational market. The main doctors association in Canada had actually asked the government to basically pull the entire medical cannabis system. Basically, they argued that they didn't have as good enough understanding about cannabis to be prescribing it, and that with the recreational market, that it was a redundant option. And the Canadian government does plan to revisit this in some years. So ultimately, we think the recreational market will be far larger than the medical market.
Though legalization kicked in last year, expansion of retail distribution has been rather slow. Do you see this as being a risk? And what are some of the other key risks that you see?
In any market, because of the existence of a large black market, you almost have this ceiling that all cannabis prices face. So what we saw when California first passed the recreational cannabis, they had put some very large excise taxes on cannabis. And basically the legal cannabis price was much higher than the black market price. And so you actually saw legal sales fall after that. And so I think that's one key risk is the pace at which prices increase and how they compare against the black market. That's always going to serve as sort of a natural barrier.
Thank you, Chris. In 2018, the entire Canadian cannabis market was estimated at roughly $1.6 billion, and by 2030, our forecasts estimate the market at nearly $15 billion in constant dollar terms. But we expect the US will be the largest and fastest growing cannabis market in the world. Tomorrow, we'll discuss this market in some detail. For Morningstar, I'm Ruth Saldana.